Dear Jewel, I left you with a few things to always hold on to. Loyalty, elusiveness, and brute force.
The Soulsborne games are memorable for many reasons, but none more so than the bosses. These guys represent some of the most brutal and rewarding challenges in gaming. With 139 of them throughout 5 games, that's a lot of dying. And now we're gonna pick the top 15. Rankings will be based on a combination of lore, design, and challenge. Of course, personal experience plays a big role, so there will be some subjectivity to this. Oh, and of course, spoilers for pretty much everything. Perhaps the most unique boss in the series, Old Monk is a PvP fight with another actual player. This means your feelings on the Old Monk are going to depend entirely on your personal experience. Was it an epic and honorable duel, or total bullshit where they spam you with the scraping spear? These days, you'll be hard-pressed to actually find someone online, meaning you'll end up fighting the NPC version, which is a complete joke. This makes this the only boss that new players may never get to experience. Still, the potential for an awesome PvP battle makes this a one-of-a-kind for the series. Without a doubt the best boss in vanilla Dark Souls 2, the Looking Glass Knight brings spectacle and challenge. However, what really brings this fight up a level is that halfway through he will summon an NPC invader to assist. What makes this so special is that if a player places their sign outside of the arena, they will be summoned instead, bringing the challenge of this fight up significantly. His lore is a little whatever, just being another test for those wishing to seek the king, but the environment in which you fight him in is pretty awesome. Dragon fights have always been a hallmark for the series, and for our money, the best one belongs to the final boss of the Crown of the Sunken King DLC, Sin the Slumbering Dragon. Sin was a slumbering dragon that was worshipped before a knight attempted to kill him. This awoke the dragon, who proceeded to kill everyone in the kingdom with his poisonous breath. Tragic stuff. The fight itself is a tough one. Sin hits hard and only gives a limited window to attack, which means you need to be on your A game for this fight. Getting hit by his poison doesn't help either. It's an exhilarating fight and incredibly satisfying when you take him down. The Twin Princes is a great example of the story working together with the mechanics of the fight. Prince Lothric, destined to be a Lord of Cinder, was born cursed, weak, and frail. His elder brother Lauren chooses to embrace his curse with him out of love, losing the use of his legs and voice. The first phase with Lauren requires awareness, as his teleportation can easily defeat those not ready. The second brings Lothric into the mix, building on the fight with magic projectiles. It's a dual fight without actually being one, and the resurrection mechanic for Lauren adds challenge while not being obnoxious like it was with the Throne Watchers and Defender from 2. It smartly uses elements from other fights and puts them together in a fantastic way. In a sea of fights that are memorable for their spectacle, Sir Alon stands out for his simplicity. A one-on-one duel between two warriors. He is a brutal fighter and ranks as one of the series' toughest challenges. Conquering this optional boss is a rewarding experience, and there's even a bonus for those masters that can do it without being hit, where Sir Alon will commit seppuku out of shame. The lore is wonderfully tragic as well. Sir Alon was a knight from a foreign land who befriended and aligned himself with the Old Iron King, but as the king became more cruel and twisted, Alon abandoned him. He still keeps the king's humble throne with him as a reminder of days long past. Blinded by his obsession with Nadalia, the Knight Rame left his post and became the demonic Fume Knight, determined to protect her. And protect her he shall, because Fume Knight is one of the absolute hardest fights in the series. His attacks deal massive damage and will put your dodge timing to the test. His second phase is even worse, changing his attack speed, adding projectiles, and even an AoE attack. And if you manage to get him low, you better have destroyed the Ashen Idols outside the arena first, otherwise Fume Knight will heal himself. Thankfully, the bonfire is close by for an easy trek, otherwise this fight might be too frustrating. Even if you hate the Fume Knight, most players can't deny the satisfaction of besting him. This fight is one that gets on here pretty much just for the lore. Demon Souls is all about being the noble hero, killing evil demons, but here that narrative is challenged. For Maiden Estrella, a character said by many to have forsaken everyone and her faith to use the power of the demons, actually did so out of selflessness. for the faith she served did nothing to help the poor and the suffering in the Valley of Defilement, but the demonic power she gained did. Posing the question of who is the real demon, it's the only moment in the series that makes you, the player, question if what you're doing is the right thing. You're not likely to fight Estrella herself, but rather her loyal knight, Garl Vinland. Defeating Garl results in Estrella committing suicide, but if you manage to kill her first, Garl will fall into despair and be dead next time you visit. Either way, it's a tragic end to one of the series' most interesting bosses.
Do as you like. Take your precious demon soul.
Perhaps the hardest fight in the whole series, the Nameless King is a beast of a boss. First off, this boss gets massive lore points for finally answering the question of who is Gwyn's first son. Spoilers, it's this guy, and you get to fight him in this suitably epic arena in an intense two-phase fight. The King of Storms phase has him riding on his dragon, while the second phase is a one-on-one showdown that pushes the player to their limits. This is in a lot of ways a battle of attrition, as the Nameless King has such a large health pool that players need to stay on top of their game the whole time. The only thing keeping him from being higher on this list is that the camera in the fight is pretty janky, particularly during the King of Storms phase.
It always comes down to the hunter's helper to clean up after these sorts of messes.
What makes Gammon such a great final boss, depending on the ending you get, is that he's a true test of skill and your mastery of Bloodborne's mechanics. There's such a great build-up to this fight, with Gehrman being the crippled old man who starts you on the journey, and now you must face him. The presentation is great as well. The flower field, the burning workshop, the music, it all works together to give a real sense of finality to it. Now, if there's one complaint, if you're really good and a little overpowered, Gehrman might not be that tough, but for most he's a fair and fun challenge. Bloodborne's only DLC, The Old Hunters, wants to beat you down with its difficulty, and proved it wasn't messing around with its first boss, Ludwig the Accursed. While the leader of the Church Hunters is certainly memorable for his horrifying grotesque horse face, aggressive attacks, one-hit kills, and whatever the heck this thing is, what truly cements him is halfway through when this happens.
You were at my side all along.
Now donning the title of the Holy Blade, you engage in what is basically a completely different boss battle, featuring From Software's iconic Moonlight Greatsword. If you thought the first phase was tough, he now has massive AoEs and huge projectiles that are capable of killing you in one hit. It's a brutal fight, but the moment you stick him with that visceral attack to finish him off is one of the most satisfying things you'll do. Also, the soundtrack is super anime. Artorias of the Abyss is the DLC that set up the Soul series as having some of the best in gaming. So it's appropriate that Knight Artorias himself would make for one of the series' best bosses. Artorias is a legendary knight known for being able to take on the Abyss, but now consumed by it, you must defeat him. Artorias is non-stop aggressive with high damage dealing attacks. The few moments of reprieve you are given is only so that he can buff himself. Well-timed rolls are critical. It's a brilliantly paced fight, and the tragedy of having to take down a corrupted legendary hero makes Artorias' story one of the most memorable in the series. What makes Dark Souls 3's final boss so great is how it's a love letter to the series as a whole, and it's hard to just not get giddy about the whole thing. The first phase has the Soul of Cinder swapping out different playstyles, meant to represent all the players throughout the series. One second they're an aggressive fast hitter, the next they're a projectile-wielding magic user. He can even do that special roll that came from the Darkwood Grain Ring in Dark Souls 1. If that's not a commitment to fan service, I don't know what is. That's not even mentioning the second phase, where the Soul of Cinder takes on the persona of Gwen, and you are treated to what is a superior version of the Dark Souls 1 final boss. A rewarding callback for longtime fans, and an impressive fight in its own right, the Soul of Cinder is the perfect send-off to the series. In a series filled with many dual bosses, Ornstein and Smo is without a doubt the best. There's a yin and yang to the two of them, with their abilities complementing each other perfectly. Your control and management over the fight is key, and it can feel overwhelming and impossible if you let it, but in reality, it's a fair challenge. The second phase changes depending on who you kill first, a unique concept that never is really replicated later on in the series. Each souped-up version provides its own challenge, and the different rewards you get provide a small but cool branching choice for the players. It's Ornstein Smo's legacy for players, though, that really puts them so high on this list. They are the crucible for new Souls players in Dark Souls 1. It's the make-or-break moment, where players conquer or give up. Picture this. You're fighting an Abyss Watcher, when suddenly a second one rises from the dead and attacks you. Okay, we've seen this before. And then a third rises, but this time it starts attacking the other two, and suddenly you have an ally. This bait and switch of what you expect from a gank fight is what makes the Abyss Watcher such a brilliant fight. The second phase is also a lovely callback to Artorias, as well as the whole lore itself. The Abyss Watchers carried on Artorias' work, razing cities to the ground to stop the Abyss. Now consumed by the Abyss themselves and unable to die, they are locked in an endless battle with each other. In many ways, the Abyss Watchers are a combination of the series' different boss styles, formed to make one fight. There's such a joy and thrill to the whole thing that once conquered, you want to go back and do it again.
Should be left well alone.
Lady Maria is a perfect boss. Her story and fight bleed naturally with each other, and the challenge she presents is frenetic, difficult, and just so much fun. As a hunter fight, Maria's abilities mirror your own, creating a dance between the two of you as you trade blows with each other. Each of her phases ramps up the pace and actually feeds into her story, for she's a broken person, so determined to prevent you from finding the secret she wishes to protect, that she will use the very art of blood weapons that she hates. Maria is unraveling. The pace increases. The music swells. The clock chimes. Maria's fight is flawless, and the very best the series has to offer. Did we miss any of your favorites? Unsatisfied with the picks? Please, we would love to hear from you. Let us know in the comments below. And remember, be nice. We're all friends here. If you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button and stay tuned to GameSpot.